Hello, comrades, and welcome back to the series of 3 lectures named Ready, Set, Go around the topic of getting hired in America, specifically in an IT sector. Again, I'm just taking my experience with all this knowledge and experience of others in this kind of business sector, if you call it, and sharing it here with you in this very uncomfortable, for me, environment of a hotel lobby. But there is a kind of an idea behind it. The reason I'm here is to actually test this environment, right, and tell you that it is not easy to be recording live. It is not easy to having, sure, some script and some kind of foundation for your speech, so to speak, here, just to not get too out of context. But this is what your interview is going to look like, guys. You're going to have a set background, sure. You're going to have maybe some good lighting, great. You're going to look professional. I hope I look, business casual. Yes, but you're going to be always surrounded by people, by noise, by various different unexpected events, and you're going to have to deal with all this yourself. So, with that said, get ready for some noise, get ready for some background, and let's get going. And I want to start this third video with kind of a quick background of the last two. The reason I've recorded all 3 of these is to have an experience like doing an interview for you, right? To actually have you go through this, to actually understand the why behind your decision to even apply for a company, the how to prepare the resume in very general terms. Again, I help you with that personally if you need to. And the third is going to be around the reality that you're going to have to face once they say, great, we're going to sponsor your visa, or we're going to, ask you to apply and figure that out yourself. And so today, and this is just the beginning, right? Visa is just the first step to get through the door. The rest is going to be on you. I don't think that a lot of newcomers are prepared for what they're about to see in the States. And so my job is to share a few of these things with you just to get you more up to speed on what to even expect in America. And this is going to be a marathon, right? The Ready, Set, Go expression that I've used is actually, it comes from sports, from, any kind of performance-based competitions, right? And this is going to be just that. I want you to understand that it's going to be a competition. It's going to be a test of your soft skills and hard skills. It's going to be a test of how quickly you get stressed and out of your kind of spiel and just perplexed by kind of the environment that you're put in. So it's the nature versus nurture, or rather nature and nurture kind of working together here. So let me just, in this video, go a little bit more into specifics of what to expect, right? And we're going to start with the visa types. And I'm just going to kind of describe this to you a little bit from my notes, but so that you kind of understand the different visa types. I'm sure you can dive into this research further and really kind of get an idea of what's available out there. But the first type of visa that is probably the most common among IT professionals is H-1B. It's quite difficult to get, actually. That's because the company that's hiring you has to request this type of allowance, right, for you from the U.S. government. And actually, to prove them that there is no one out there amongst the Americans, unemployed Americans, that can do your job. You should be qualified for the job, yes, but you should also understand that the unemployment levels are very high and that you may not get the visa just because of that factor. Also, and this may sound a little bit more discouraging than the previous thing about the H-1B, the number of applicants far exceeds the number of visas given. It is given by the government, and it basically all ends up looking like a lottery at the end of the day. So get ready for this. The next one is a L1 visa. The L1 work visa is another popular option. It's generally utilized by larger companies and It's designed to bring executives, managers, or employees with specialized knowledge from a foreign branch to the U.S. Right? So if you're working for an international company, that's how they would transfer you over to the U.S. The L1 visa holder may be a temporary transfer to the U.S. branch of the company, the intention is to maybe to set up a U.S. presence of that particular company. Additionally, the L1 employee must have worked for a foreign employer for one continuous year within the past 3 years, immediately preceding entry to the United States. L1 visa. This visa is quite interesting. It enables U.S. employers to recruit foreign nationals with certain extraordinary abilities. So, for example, the O1A visa includes individuals with an extraordinary ability in science, in business, or athletics kind of sector. The O1B covers individuals with an extraordinary ability in the arts or the extraordinary ability achievement in the motion picture, television industry. So a lot of those folks you see, kind of models, directors, even writers, sometimes move to the U.S. And actually be assigned to an agency, are coming using this kind of visa. So talent visa, unique talent visa, unique abilities, if you will. All right, enough with the legal talk. I'm sure you can find tons of information out there about these visas and seek legal advice from a professional, which I am definitely not. I'm just sharing some of the general kind of visas out there so that you can be prepared as your first step when you're actually ready to go. So the first step of the last step, so to speak. Right now, I want to talk to you about something that I have personally experienced kind of moving to the States, and first things that I needed on my list to kind of be filled in and satisfied before I moved on. And this is where I've put a list of top 5 things that you're going to need when you actually arrive to America. And the first is going to be Social Security number. The second is your ID, identification card. The third is the apartment or a house lease. The fourth is bank account. And the fifth is your connectivity options, right? Cell phone, internet, and so on, in no particular order. So let's start with the most important piece, Social Security card. You're gonna want to make sure you have all the necessary paperwork from your employer and from any sort of government agency that's helping you move to the States to actually take to the Social Security office, the local office in your area, and actually get the Social Security number. Because after you get that number, which, by the way, I recommend you memorize and actually use, because you're going to be using it every time you apply for a credit card, or a loan, or a bank account, or an apartment lease, or a car lease. Anything that has to do with your identity and your kind of credit history is linked to that Social Security number. So you're going to memorize it whether you want it or not. It's going to be your main identification going forward. So if you lose an ID, you're going to need a Social Security number to replace it, and you get the idea. So the next step after getting the Social Security number is the actual identification card. So an ID is generally a driver's license. However, it could just be a regular government state-issued ID card without the obviously ability to drive the car. It's just your photo, your biometrics, and your date of birth and so on, just basic kind of information about you that you're going to present everywhere you go when you need to prove your identity. Of course, you need a physical residence address to apply to actually get that card. So that's where we get to the next point. The apartment hunting is different now. I mean, there's a lot of apps out there that allows you to search for an apartment. For me, when I was moving to the States, when I moved there first, I actually looked at Craigslist, which is basically just a website that posts ads for everything you can imagine, and it's a very good resource actually to find apartments and find roommates, which is my suggestion actually moving in with a roommate first, because that way you're going to have a local helping you maybe get acquainted with the area and get started in certain documentation even, and just figure out what the heck is going on and the environment a little bit better, since he's already or she's already in that environment and has been for a while. Also, it's a little bit cheaper and a little bit safer for them as well. Just since you're a roommate, you're not really, applying to a landlord's approval, so to speak, or approval. On terms of documentation, you're just basically going to be sharing an apartment with another person. So it's a little bit quicker and easier to do that way, especially if you don't have, Social Security history, your credit history of Social Security, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's the next step, right? And once you get that residence address, just keep in mind that those apartments may look very different from what you're used to in working and living in Europe. For me, one of the shockers was not having a washing machine in the apartment, right? Because even the cheapest, simplest apartments, not super old buildings, but still, very much like a common thing is to have a washer and dryer in the unit, whereas in the States, that is not the standard, even in the newest buildings. So be prepared for those things. So looking for a laundromat where you put quarters in to actually wash your clothes and dry them, your roommate hopefully can help you find those. That's what like I said, that's what they're here for. So the next one on the list was bank account, right? So you need your job offer, you need your Social Security, you need your ID to get the bank account. That may seem easy, but once you have a so-called checking account where you're going to be placing hopefully some of your savings that you brought with you, you're also going to want to actually get a secured credit card from the bank. What that is it's a card with a limit, right? And that limit is based off of how much money you put in your own cash to secure that limit. So for instance, if it's $500, that's all you have as far as cash, you just deposit that in the bank and they freeze it, allowing you to use their credit card for $500 limit max. So that means that if you don't, they'll just take your money. So it's a simple deposit, but it's important to start it that way because A, it's going to build your credit history, right? So once you've paid off that deposit, it keeps on so you paid off the balance, I should say, the minimum balance, right? Don't wait till you've used up the whole 500 or 5,000 or whatever it may be. Just use it and pay for it, use it and pay for it, use it and pay for it, using the same bank, right? And B, it'll let you actually apply for a credit card with a higher limit as well. So if it was 500, you come back in about 3-4 months, don't know what it is right now, seek your financial advice elsewhere, but that was my kind of experience. And apply for 5,000, right? So that way you have a balance of that is much larger than you used to have. So there you have it. A few quick tips for you. I try to make my videos under 15 minutes so that it's easier for you to digest, but I always am here for you to, dive into your own specific situation, your own challenges, and so on and so forth. I do these just for entertainment purposes. No financial advice, no legal advice. Obviously, that is not my background. But I hope these kind of tips were useful, and if you need something more specific due to your context, please reach out. You know how to get to me. If you have been, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.